This episode of Inside Golf Podcast is brought to you by Inside Sports Network.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Boston Capital Twitter, Steve, on the Hold the Green podcast.
All right, we are live. Tapping birdie.
All right, Carson Young is here.
I bet Ludwig at 28.
Let's go.
I bet him at,
I bet him at 25.
low sevens. I think there's some guys in here we like.
Harris English at 7,300.
I love Brian Harmon at 3.5% this week.
What's up, gang? I noticed if Chris Parrish and Josh, if you guys are in the chat, I know Cam has a busy schedule, but just confirm with me that we're trying to not be on Twitter, right? That I'm not crazy, because this is not streaming to Twitter like it normally does. And there's a million messages flying my way over the last 24 hours. And I just want to confirm that us not being on Twitter is a part of the plan. And it's not a mistake that we did or anything, but okay, good. Josh, yes, only YouTube. I can breathe easy. I don't know why we're doing that, but okay, beautiful. I do. I just need to catch up on some messages. RB, how are you doing, my man? How's your weekend?
I'm good. Yeah, it was fun. I always love watching the Scottish Open. It's too bad Phipps couldn't get across the line, because that would have helped everybody in the Discord, I feel like. But really pumped for this week, though. Can't wait.
Me as well. Scottish was sick. I had an amazing weekend with a bunch of close friends, including Brian and Kyle and Natalie in the chat. I had a sick Scottish as well. Fitz would have been awesome, but best top 20 and matchup card of the season.
Right hand got there for us. Marco Penn.
Right hand and Schmidt top 20s were an outright for me, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
No.
So listen, we're not going to spend that much time Vic lapping, because the results are the results, and we're going to spend the most time giving you info, because this is the last time you're going. Actually, that's not true. I'm saying Brian. I'm going to be on Brian's show this evening. But yeah, I mean, it's Monday of the Open Championship week.
It is.
We have the weather for now. I have now done 2 pieces of content on Royal Portrush and given 2 big weather updates. I'll give another big weather update on this show. But before I do that, RB, I'm very curious about your thoughts on Royal Portrush. I've already talked enough about it. So you tell me, how do you feel about Royal Portrush? What are your macro ideas?
Yeah, I mean, obviously just going to echo a lot of what you said on your pod. I mean, it seems like the greens are by far the defining factor. And I guess we'll talk about it. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to weigh last week. Completely different golf course, completely different skill set. I also don't know how much I'm going to weigh 2019. Obviously, we had a lot of rain and weather that year. And I mean, even just looking at that leaderboard and the scores and the names, it was a bit of a mutter contest. And I don't anticipate we're going to see anything like that this time around. So I think from a high level, I mean, I'm focusing heavy on iron play, form, but that's really as far as I've gotten. So,
well, let's do a weather update. So, I mean, basically since we last spoke, there is, it changes every day. It really does. So, I mean, this is the last thing I'll say about the Discord, but it's going to change every day. So what I'm going to say about the weather right now is not going to be applicable on Tuesday or Wednesday. It may help you if you want to get some ideas and build some lineups right now, but I would recommend everyone to check out the Wednesday night show, because that will have the most updated weather that you're going to get. If you're interested in making some bets right now or building some lineups just for fun right now, I can tell you what I'm seeing right now in the weather and how it's changed from the last time we spoke. I will say one definitive thing. from what I've heard, from who I've spoken to at the golf course, and I am a big believer in like not buying a lot of the practice round stuff.
Mhm.
But it's not like it's not going to be as baked out as Troon. There's scattered showers
Yep.
throughout the week. There's scattered showers before the tournament. There's scattered showers when the tournament starts. In fact, I believe that it's raining right now in Northern Ireland at Royal Portrush. You're getting a little bit of rain today. You're getting a little bit of rain on Tuesday. You're getting no rain on Wednesday, which has me feeling optimistic. But the main change, and the last time we spoke, I said Thursday, Friday, Saturday were going to be pretty easy. And then Sunday was going to be the toughest day. It's kind of flipped now where Thursday is the toughest day. And that's actually really fucking annoying because that means we're going to have to invite a weather edge. It's interesting because, we probably spend more time on the weather.
Yeah.
Steve is the best in the business at weather. I mean, we spend so much time on the weather. I do not want that to confuse people. I hate weather edges. Like I really, it just adds an element of decision-making and strategy to the process that is just generally annoying. But unfortunately, as it stands now, I don't know if you're seeing this, Thursday looks now like the most difficult day at Royal Portrush. And then Friday and Saturday look relatively calm. And then Sunday looks calmish as well. I mean, what's your winning score? What do you think the scoring average is going to be?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's kind of a catch-22 because it's obviously the event where weather will matter the most, but it's also the event where the weather is the most unpredictable, right? So you kind of have to weigh those two things. I don't know. I mean, I guess Lowry was 15 under.
He was 15 under, but he won by 6 strokes. So
he could
have shot 10 under and won the golf tournament.
Right. I think that's a good number, right? I think 10 under is going to be right there on Sunday.
Oh, but again, I think it'll be a little easier.
If the wind is down and we don't get any weather, you might see guys at 10 under halfway through Friday. So,
This is a really good question from Shorty because I want to try and answer as many macro DFS questions on this show today because the vast majority of my plays I don't have yet. That's going to be where we get a more accurate weather forecast and ownership, but we can talk about ownership and I can give guesses on what the ownership is going to be. But this is a good question from Shorty, one of my favorite people to talk golf with in Discord. So how quickly is this weather flipping? If so, will it be plus EV to fade whatever everybody else does? It's definitely flipping every day. I don't know if it's flipping hourly, but I check it probably 3 or 4 times a day. And generally there's not a switch between the first and second times I check it, but if I check it in the morning and I check it at night, there's usually a switch. So are you kind of just at the point where you're going to be like, okay, it changes enough to the point where my plays are my plays, fuck it. Or are you going to be at the point where you're like, okay, if the field is responding to a weather edge, which we don't even know if they're doing. By the way, there was a big weather edge last week at the Scottish Open and we were on the right side of it and ownership kind of made a little bit of a difference, but not totally, but you're going to get this wrong sometimes too. So, we got it right at the Scottish, maybe we're due to get it wrong at the Open, but where do you stand?
So I never let weather change my plays, like you said, right? My plays are my plays. My bets are my bets. I'll certainly, I'll use weather as a tiebreaker like most people will, right? Whether it's a wave stack, like the Open doesn't have waves, right? It is one long wave. And so you can sort of stack groups of tee times together. And I would definitely do that, right? Whether it's morning, whether it's afternoon, doesn't really matter. But you will certainly see blocks of tee times who get an hour, 2 hours, 2.5 hours of really, really good scoreable weather. And so that's something that I would definitely focus on this week.
Yeah. Here's a good question. Which popular player will disappoint us degenerates the most?
I'll give an answer. Yeah, I guess we'll get into it with the pricing and stuff like that. But I'm going to say Ludwig, as much as I love him.
I don't know if Ludwig's going to be popular, RB.
Really? I feel like
No, I
everyone
don't think
has
so.
seen enough the last couple weeks that they're buying in.
I am telling you right now, it's very early. But when I'm looking at this is it's just one piece of the process. But one of the things I like to do when I start making my ownership calculations is I look at the early favorited players on Fantasy National, and Ludwig is the lowest favorited player over 9K.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of people who bet him. So yeah.
You think that's a number? Do you think that's a number play, or because I hear you, sometimes that gets reflected in the ownership, but it's too early to tell. But I think Ludwig will.
Yes and no. I think everybody all year, like we've been talking about the iron play not being there and the ball striking being down, and he's now just had elite ball striking for like 5 starts in a row, and I just feel like that is more than enough for people to bet him at 25, 28, wherever he's at right now.
Yeah. Dave, I think you're dead wrong on Xander and Hovland. I like Xander and Hovland quite a bit.
Yeah,
FYI,
absolutely.
Happy to be on other sides of things. I'll admit if I'm wrong with Dave. Dave knows I always take accountability with him, but I do dunk on him if I'm right, which also happens quite a bit as well. I think Russell Henley is a bit of a trap this week, personally.
Definitely seen some Henley love too. So
15% plus at 7,900. I think there is a version of Russell Henley that is a lot better at 7,200. So let's dive into the slate and let's talk about ownership because I want to talk a lot about building strategy on this show because there's been a lot of chatter about that in the Discord already. And I think that is the most value that we could possibly bring now that ISN is growing and there's a lot of people in ISN that play DFS golf, a lot of high stakes players as well. It's a really good place. I feel like I've gotten better just because of the Discord at understanding overall field strategy. Like just listening to what people are saying and how people are thinking has helped me as a better DFS player that I feel like has finally started to come to fruition over the last couple of weeks. And so I already have a couple of theories on what people are going to do with these numbers. But what is your response to Scotty 14.2 and a $2,700 difference between Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy?
Yeah, so there's going to be some hyperbole here, but relative to what we've seen, nobody's going to play Scotty. He's still going to be, 18, 20, 22%. But I mean, relative to the numbers we've seen with Scotty, I think he will be way below those thresholds. I think people have now seen a path where he finished 6th, 7th, and 8th in his last 3 events. That's pretty much all you need to fade him at a 14K price tag, right? He really has to win or be top 3 in scoring for that to pay off. So I do think he is going to be under-owned this week. What
does under-owned mean? Does that mean 10%? Does it mean 20%, 15%?
So I'm going to go on a limb and say Rory and Rahm are both higher than Scotty. So we can sort of work out what that means. So I'm going to say 18 to 20% on Scotty, 18 to 20.
I kind of like that. I really do think that there's going to be enough people. I mean, I will say this personally, and gosh, I mean, if Scotty ends up being like 7 or 8%, there's always a demarcation point for me where I'm open to anything and will come back around on any pendulum swing. All of the ISN people know that. But I will say, in my opinion, the price gap from Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy is one of the more insulting pricing I've ever seen in DraftKings.
Especially,
I say that insulting to Rory,
especially with how well Rory played last week. It's not like he's coming in
we had
bad form at all.
We had the same conversation last week where I said the price we clipped it. the price
Yeah.
difference between Rory and Scotty last week, and I thought Rory Scotty last week was a coin flip, but the 1,700 difference between Rory and Scotty last week, I played Rory everywhere and had a great DFS week, and it's not like Rory totally kicked Scotty's ass, but I felt like with Rory, I was able to build much better lineups than what I would have been able to build with Scotty. The 1,700 price gap between Rory and Scotty was a non-starter. You can't play Scotty.
But if you build, just to play devil's advocate here a little bit, like you look at the value plays for this week, which we'll get into.
Yeah.
We'll talk, Aaron Rai like we always do. We'll talk Harry Hall, probably Nick Taylor as well. Like
very minimal Harry Hall talk.
That will help you get to Scotty, right? Like for anybody who's willing to play like a Harry Hall, Nick Taylor team, when there will be a zillion out there, like, all right, well now you have the money to play Scotty plus another 9 or 10K guy, and it's pretty doable. So like that might save him a little bit, but I'm going to be fading Scotty, probably full fading Scotty this week, honestly.
I mean, 2,700 between Rory and Scotty is insanity.
Yeah.
It's just a wrong price. I mean, the difference between Rory and Scotty in the betting market right now on even sharp bucks is like 5-1 versus 650. I wouldn't even be shocked if Scotty closes at 6-1. And this isn't even an anti-Scotty take. I think if you just asked me right now, straight up, price is not a factor. Ownership is not a factor.
Yeah.
Just give me a head-to-head. One side of the coin is Rory. One side of the coin is Scotty. Who performs better at Portrush? I think I'd probably lean Scotty over Rory, personally. I think it's very close. You can make an argument for each. But 2,700 difference is the difference, RB, between Jon Rahm and, 10.4 minus 2.7. That's 6.4 plus 7 is 7,100. That the difference between Rory and Scotty this week is the difference between Jon Rahm and Thomas Dietrich.
Yeah, and I'm not super high on Rory either. I just think again, I think that price gap, Scotty's form maybe being just a drop down from where we're used to. He has no top fives at the Open in his 4 or 5 appearances here. Like, I think Jon Rahm's going to be the highest owned. I think you probably agree with that.
You think more than Rory?
I think so. And I mean, I know you've been on the Rahm train for a while here. I like him as well.
You didn't bet him though, did you?
No, and I'm not going to play him because he's the kind of guy who I'm going to play when he's not popular, right?
Yeah.
Like when he was down on Live, I played him at the U.S. Open, played him at the PGA. Probably not going to play him here.
Me too. I play him everywhere.
But I do love this course for him. Absolutely.
Love this course for him. I unfortunately think I agree with you. I think that based on last week, it was looking like, in my opinion, that Rory would be the highest owned player on the slate. And now I think that it's going to be Jon Rahm. I agree with that. I think Jon Rahm is going to beat Rory this week, personally, between the two. And when you even get an $1,100 difference, that's significant as well. An $1,100 difference between Rory and Rahm is the difference between, Rahm and Bobby Mack. Okay. So, or Rahm and Lowry. Okay. And I think most people would say to themselves, Rahm and Rory are a little closer to each other than an $1,100 difference. Now, my question to you is, where does Bryson fit into this puzzle? Because I know a lot of people are just saying Bryson is the squeeze spot, 5% Bryson, but his price is quite playable. Data Golf gave him a pretty good rating where, he's actually at 25-1. That's kind of a good bet. I think people are going to always come, and I have always believed in this, RB. I don't personally think it's Bryson this week, but at majors, I say this every single week. And I said it at the US Open as it pertained to Rory McIlroy, where, he finished T19 at Oakmont Poo Poo in the potty. But when but he was 7%.
Mhm.
And Rory was a part of a lot of like really strong winning lineups at the US Open as kind of that single digit owned forgotten elite.
Mhm.
Is that Bryson this week? And do you think he has the potential to play well at Portrush?
So obviously, just in a vacuum, don't love the golf course for him. Obviously, don't love links golf in general. He does not have a good open record. I will say I am open to playing Bryson. I am not open to starting my lineups with Bryson. So if I can find a Rahm Bryson or a Rory Bryson team that I'm okay with, I would probably do that. But I do not think I'm going to get there this week.
So you seem kind of, so who's your favorite? I mean, how are you starting your lineups, RB? Give the people want to know. I mean, 9K plus in total. What is the start of your single entry?
It is very likely going to be Xander Tommy. I love Xander.
Me too.
I love
Did
Xander.
you bet him?
No, but I'm going to bet him in like the American market and probably top 10, top 20, all that sort of stuff.
Plus 10 on approach last week at the
Right.
Scottish
It's
Open.
just it just feels perfect for him, especially if the weather's down and it's kind of dome golf. Like I just love his chances. And like people are going to poo-poo Tommy's finish last week because he didn't contend, but it was all putting. He was awful, but he was still, I think he was 8th in tee to green last week. I also think that Portrush is a much better golf course for him than Renaissance Club, obviously.
Without a doubt.
So yeah, and like I don't know, I might have trouble spending 50K this week, to be honest, especially if I'm starting with a Xander Tommy team. I'm not on Shane much this week. I already mentioned I have some concerns with Ludwig. I don't know about Bobby Mack here. And look, I could play Rory Xander, and I might, but I'm leaning Xander Tommy this week.
Who do you think's higher owned between the two?
I think Xander. I think people are going to overreact a little bit to last week with Fleetwood, and they saw Xander. I think he was in the top 10, or I was close to the top 10. And I think anytime Xander drops under 10K in price, it's kind of like an auto buy for everybody. And you can pair him with somebody else. Like you can play Scotty Xander, very easily this week.
Dave, what the hell is the form trend? RB, Dave wants you to know that your Xander call is dead because he doesn't fit the form trend. 2 top 10s or 3 top 15s.
Xander's won 2 majors. I don't care about the form trend.
5 starts every winner since 2012.
Yeah. Well, I didn't bet him, so he doesn't have to win.
How does that, my question, when I see trends like that, how does that interact with live players? Because a top 15 on live is beating, a top 15 on live is like beating what? How many people are in the field at live? 50, 48 with.
Yeah, I also don't think trends matter when you're ranked 3rd in the world. So
also, how much do trends matter when you're the best Open Championship player of the last 5 years and you just gained 10 strokes on approach?
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, I did not, in full disclosure, I did not bet Xander to win. I might bet him in like a without market, but I mean, he was 9-1 for top American. Like that seems really good. And every top 20, top 10, even some top 5s probably.
I really like what you're saying with Tommy Fleetwood. And I was off Tommy last week. I thought it was just kind of a letdown spot coming off that emotional loss at the Travelers. And I think now he's had enough time to heal. And the other aspect that I would say with Tommy Fleetwood is that I don't particularly, when Tommy Fleetwood wins, if Tommy Fleetwood wins, your guess is as good as mine. I still believe he'll win one of these days, but
sure,
God willing. I really don't think it matters that much. I think I've been playing Tommy Fleetwood all year. I'm a huge believer in Tommy Fleetwood as a DFS play. Tommy Fleetwood, statistically, based on my numbers, this may sound like an uncontroversial take. It shouldn't be a controversial take. I mean, I'm sure Data Golf has him around the same. Tommy Fleetwood this season on the PGA Tour has been like a top 6 to 7 player in the world. I mean, he's been 20 to 25 to 1 every single week, and he gets hammered by sharp bettors every single week on Bookmaker to 18 to 1. Okay, because there are a lot of sharp bettors out there that don't care about narratives at all. And I am kind of a lot more on that side than like this guy can't win side, right? I mean, you have to think about Xander. The narrative about Xander before was, I don't know, it was quite like Tommy, but Xander was a huge loser. Xander was getting the treatment that somebody like Colin is getting right now. And Tommy Fleetwood gets, deservingly so, by the way, to infinity. But if there are also a lot of data nerds like myself and sharp bettors that are just going to look at his approach stats every single week, his driving accuracy stats, and his ability to finish top 10 or top 15 or top 20 at a higher rate than much of his competition if they sim the golf tournament, and look at his course history at Royal Portrush. And for me, like, I think Sawgrass is important this week. I think being well-rounded is really important this week compared to like being elite at a certain skill. And Tommy Fleetwood and Xander Schauffele are two players that are very well-rounded across the board. And what I mean when I say well-rounded is like they have the ability to spike in a lot of different categories. Like I think you're going to need to chip at Royal Portrush. I think short game is going to, I mean, it has very small 5,500 square foot greens compared to other Open Championship venues. And so I think there's a golf course where short game is going to matter quite a bit. And Hovland can go out there. I mean, Fleetwood, like he can go out there and gain 6 strokes around the green any given week. He can gain 6 strokes on approach any given week. And you know that he's going to keep the ball and play off the tee. So for me, RB, like I just play Tommy based on course fit. And this is as course fit wise, this is as good as it gets. Now, outright number, I think it's a hard sell at 28-1. And I've just kind of crossed him off from the outright market. But as a DFS play, he has core potential for me.
Yeah, I would not overreact to last week. I believe he gained about 8 strokes tee to green and lost 4 putting. So I mean, you take away those 4 that he lost putting, he's like with Scotty and Xander. So, and I think it would be a completely different conversation if he finished 8th or 10th or 12th last week.
Okay. So let's talk about Lowry essentially to Brooks. Okay. So this range, super interesting. It's like, there's not a lot of players in it. Like there's only a couple guys in the 8K range this week, but this feels like a very high leverage range to me. Right? Like it feels like there are guys in this range that could actually win the golf tournament. And there's guys in this range that could totally bone you. So talk to me about I mean, I guess even you can include anything you need to say on Bobby Mack or Ludwig, but talk to me about the 8s.
Yeah, I think those two are pretty clear. I think both would be fairly popular. Ludwig seems to be getting steam this morning betting. So I would play him over Bobby, but I'm not rushing to play either.
I prefer Bobby to Ludwig personally.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's 2 names that you need to really focus on in the 8K range. One of them is going to be the most popular, and that's Victor Hovland. And the other one is probably Patrick Cantlay, who he is now down at a price. Like, I do not play Patrick Cantlay. I know that you do play Patrick Cantlay. I don't know what you make of this, but when was the last time you saw him at like 8K? I mean,
I might actually be able to effort that and research that on the show.
It must be a decade ago.
this to me is the lowest that Cantlay has ever been priced since he's been a somewhat serious golfer. Jury's out on whether he's a serious golfer right now, but I can't think of a time where he has been priced this low in a golf tournament.
Yeah. So, I mean, in a vacuum, my 2 favorite plays are going to be Hovland and Hatton. I assume
Hovland and Hatton.
And I assume those are probably going to be the 2 highest owned. I mean, Hovland will for sure be the highest owned here. So you have to be very careful. But again, like if I'm starting Xander Tommy, I feel fine playing Hovland in that sort of build. You can even play all 4 of them. You could play Xander, Fleetwood, Hatton, Hovland. And I doubt that'll be a popular build, but I feel like that's the way that I'm trending this week. I would not play these live guys in Neiman.
You're out on Neiman and Brooks.
Out on Neiman and Brooks. I don't play Cantlay. If I had to choose one more.
What do you think about Morikawa?
I would play him over JT. I just he's got a better links record. I think everybody again is going to overreact to the miscut last week. And again, he's he had a new caddy. He obviously has been putting like shit all year. Like he's got stuff going on. But if we do get a calm weather week, and this is playing like dome golf and it's an iron fest, like, yeah, probably good for JT too. But like, I would take Morikawa in those conditions.
Okay, so I'm totally with you. Hatton is a fade for me. I'm lower on market than Hatton. Hatton's sort of like his driving to me, particularly like looking at it recently at like a Andalucide, kind of a boo-boo in the potty finish as well. I know he's a popular bet, and Hatton is the type of guy that like I'd be super all over if he was like 10% this week and 40 or 50 to 1.
Yeah,
I don't understand. I mean, I suppose I do maybe, but Hatton at 25 to 1 is. Did you bet Hatton? I'm sorry.
I did not.
Okay,
No.
Hatton at 25 to 1 and the Hatton steam down to 25 to 1 and him being one of the highest owned players on the slate.
Yeah.
I think you're overrating him quite a bit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Natalie. My girlfriend loves Hatton. My girlfriend.
Yeah, I had futures at 50 at both.
He spits on the course. That's if you want a peek into Natalie's brain, she loves him because he spits on the golf course. That's how Natalie feels about my golfing habit. She spits on the golf course.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I'm a little bit lower on Hatton than market. Colin Morikawa, I'm just deeply confused by. I liked him quite a bit last week. Like he, him missing the cut for me.
Yeah.
Him missing the cut for me took a lot of 6 of 6s to a lot of 5 of 6s. And it seemed like he was cruising along just fine. And then, I was not watching the golf. I didn't watch any of the golf this weekend. And he just kind of erupted on the back nine. Did you watch any of that? Did you get a peek of how that Billy Foster relationship was panning out?
No, I didn't play him last week, so I wasn't really paying attention, but I saw that he was sort of close, like 1 or 2 birdies away. And then I looked and he's 6 over. So it certainly escalated very quickly for him.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I still look at this golf course, and the golf course that I compared this to the most was St. George's. The reason why I like St. George's is because St. George's has real dunes.
Yeah.
Okay. And it also had really minimal weather. And I do think for at least 2 days out of this golf tournament, the weather is going to be pretty benign. Okay. And St. George's, it didn't play super firm and fast either because they got a lot of rain, which is going to be the case at Royal Portrush as well. Portrush is a harder golf course on paper than St. George's, and it's going to play harder than St. George's. But what's similar about them is going to be the firmness of the turf, the dunes, the potential lack of weather, and the fact that this can be an aerial golf course. Yeah. And I do think that, like, if you keep the ball in play off the tee and are an absolutely dirty middle iron player, then you can win this golf tournament. And Kawa is that. I mean, he's had a great season statistically, but he always, I mean, it's such like a low. I mean, it's the reason why all of us in the Discord call him so gutless is because he always seems to disappoint the most at the places that he's supposed to play well, right? Like the course fits that are so obvious for Morikawa, Travelers, RBC Heritage. I remember he was like 9 to 1 at the Players RB, and everybody was drinking the Kool-Aid at the Players. He never plays well at the weeks that you expect him to play well. This is a buy low. I mean, 8.7 Colin is a bit of a buy low, especially if he's under 10%. And then I'm not going to talk about Cantlay. I don't like JT. Hovland is the toughest man for me to figure out because there are a lot of things that I really like about Hovland. Like, I think Hovland can win the golf tournament. I really do. Like, he has the ability now on approach where he's got like lead the field and approach upside now. The problem with Hovland is I do think you need to chip on this golf course. Like, I think part of the reason why maybe he played well at a St. Andrews is because St. Andrews, you don't really need to chip at all. This golf course is not like that.
Yeah.
But he did play well.
At St. George's, yeah.
He did play well at St. George's. And he has played well, like, for example, the around the green comp that I have compared this to is Sawgrass because of the moguls. Okay, the moguls around the greens. Hovland's played well there. So he can overcome it, but I may consider that outright number of 30-1 and fade him in DFS if he is one of because I do like him. Like I do.
Yeah.
I love what I'm seeing approach wise. He just has been really hard to trust. Like it's been a really like sloppy season for him, RB, if you know what I mean. Like the highs have been high. He almost won the US Open, but he's just had like a lot of sloppy tournaments.
Yes, but he does have a win, right? He does have a third at the US Open. And I mean, if you take away Scotty Scheffler, he's probably been the best iron player on tour since April. He has just been dynamic, and that's what I'm looking for this week. So I am a little biased because I have a 40-1 future on him this week. That was my first bet many months ago, and I didn't go any lower than that this week. So
are you if I make a bad future, we don't talk about it, mafia dealsman, or you are keep all your bad futures on the card guy?
I keep them. The only one that I took off was Gary Woodland because he didn't make the field. So, but no, I've got Cameron Young. I've got Jason Day. They will be front and center on the card this week.
I like Day a lot.
I do,
Dave,
too.
I just challenge you to a Neiman versus Cantlay head-to-head. Let me know what you think. All right, let's talk about the sevens. I mean, it's not that big of a range. So
yeah, they jammed everyone down in the 5s and 6s this week. So
yeah,
it's a little bit different.
Maybe to lead people to play Scotty, some would say.
Yeah, right. So look, I mean, 2 or 3 of these guys are going to be in the top 15 this week, right? Like that's just the way this always works out. So I think in a vacuum, and again, this is going to be chalk, I think my favorites are Fitz and Sepp Straka. I'm going to need to figure out how to make that work because I don't really want to play the 2 most popular guys in the 7K. I mentioned that I have bets on Cameron Young and Jason Day. I probably, I wouldn't recommend playing Cameron Young here. I don't think it's a great golf course, but
I worry about if Cameron Young can corral the big miss.
He can't.
If you convince me that Cameron Young, because it's not that long of a golf course, like a player with Cameron Young's, you know what? I'm going to text Lamagna and tell him, just tell Cameron Young that he can keep the driver in the bag a little bit. Because if it wasn't for the big, he's putting really well, and he's actually putted pretty well on these slower greens.
Yeah, look. Yes, and like everyone is going to remember the runner-up at the old course, but then he was 8th at Liverpool. He made the cut last year. Like he's been really good playing links golf. I like that he took a couple weeks off after the Travelers, which was terrible, and Rocket, which was terrible, because he was playing great. Like the driver was back. He's been putting amazing most of this year. Like I do think he has the talent. If I can. I can recommend other people play him. I will probably play him though.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, but it looks like he's not going to be like super low owned. Ben,
I do like Jason Day though. I think that's a good one.
I think Jason Day's a great play. He isn't like the ball striker right now that I want him to be, but he just seems to like find a way. Honestly, with PJ showing up here, like I feel like we're obligated to do 45 more seconds on Cameron Young.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yes. PJ, I think PJ's on site this week, right? He'll be.
PJ, if you are on site this week and you still have some sort of relationship with Cameron Young, I need you to like very slyly just be like, "Hey, Cam, I love what you're up to recently, but." What are you thinking off the tee? If you could ensure to me that Cameron Young was going to keep the driver in the bag on certain holes, like PJ, you can barter with him. You can negotiate with him. You could be like, Cam, like you can hit it on this one, just not the holes where there's OB up the entire right side. I think like Cameron Young's been objectively sick.
Yeah.
It's really interesting because you look at Cameron Young's demeanor and personality, and he isn't even in my top 100 draft picks of who I would expect to like fall in love with the magic of links golf.
He has to figure out like what his bucket is, because he is not good with long irons. He is not good with short irons, but he is good with middle irons, right? And I think there should be plenty of that this week. So yes, I will play him every week. But yes, I want to talk about Jason Day because I've always said that he's going to win an Open. It's kind of crazy to me that he hasn't won an Open yet. His form has certainly dipped a little bit from when I bet him a couple months ago, but I just feel like he's very live here. And he is, I mean, even the last handful of years, he's got a tremendous Open record.
You don't have to sell me one bit. I love Jason Day. I played Jason Day. Jason Day was a core play, I believe, last Open. I played Jason Day at the last two Opens. He was huge for me at Liverpool as well.
He's also the same price as Corey Connors, who is always over-owned. So, you know, if you
I don't think he'll be over-owned this week, though, because there's still skepticism about his injury. I mean, you know me and Corey Connors. I'm a big fan of Corey Connors.
Yeah, models will like Corey Connors, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can I ask you about Hideki and Adam Scott and Justin Rose and Spieth?
Oh, boy. So
now, those are some four interesting ones: Spieth, Rose, Hideki, Adam Scott. And
I mean, I think if I was inclined to play anybody, it would probably be Adam Scott, even though I don't love the golf course for him. Like, has Spieth been hurt? Like, we obviously haven't seen him since the U.S. Open. I know that he had the wrist injury previously, but has he still been hurt, or do we not know that?
I don't,
because he hasn't played any golf. If Spieth is healthy, he's my favorite of those four, like clearly by a mile. I will not play Hideki this week. I will not play Justin Rose this week. So Adam Scott or Spieth for me.
Yeah. I don't like Rose. I do like Hideki. I could do some digging on Spieth.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that I know on grounds that might be able to answer that question. But I mean, I think you have to assume that if somebody is playing the golf tournament, then they're relatively healthy. Like there were concerns about Corey Connors' injury last week.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if there are injury concerns with a player, I do think it's fair to like proceed with caution, right? I mean, Corey Connors, the injury kept him low owned and he was like average. Like it wasn't the result that you were looking for. He made the cut. He finished like T40. It was enough for me to be encouraged that Corey Connors is on the train back to health and might be hopefully a little bit better this week. With Spieth, it seems like certainly part of the reason why he was out was because he had a baby. And so if he had a baby, he's probably not practicing that much golf and he's probably not super locked in. And so I think that's a fair reason to dock him. Like I wouldn't bet Spieth to win this week.
Correct.
But if Spieth is under-owned, I certainly have a lot of interest in Spieth's course fit. Spieth's been a really good driver of the ball this year. Spieth has phenomenal Open form. I mean, he finished 20th at Portrush this year. He almost won at St. George's. I think there's a lot to like there. Justin Rose, I think, is going to have one major pop per year, like one really big major pop per year. I think he had that at the Masters, and I know that he played well on Sunday at Genesis, but I don't know if it's that easy. Ben Griffin, hopefully I don't have to deal with as much anymore. Like, do you think Ben Griffin is just going in the wrong direction, or do you think I have to deal with him more?
He has to at some point, right? He's not a top 5 or 6 player in the world. So we saw Ben Griffin.
Ben Griffin missing the cut was massive for me at the John Deere.
Yeah. So I feel like there has to be a little bit of that sort of regression, but people love playing him though. I'll say that.
Let's finish up with the very beefy 5 and 6K range. There's a lot of guys down here. And if you're playing Scotty Scheffler, then you want to get acclimated with a lot of these players. I'm looking a little bit more balanced this week, but I've got some names that I'll talk about in this range.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think obviously we have to start with the ones that are going to be very popular because I think I would just stay away from them. Like for the most part, it's a very unpredictable event. So like you talk about Aaron Wright, you talk about Harry Hall, you talk about probably Maverick McNeely at 6,100 and then Nick Taylor at 6K. Like, I think those four, probably the four highest owned. So, like, I just want to find pretty much direct pivots off of them. I'll go right back to the guy Marco Penge at 6K. I think he has been a really good player all year. So I don't think last week was any sort of fluke. I definitely have a lot of interest there. I feel like one of these weeks, one of these majors, like Cameron Smith is just going to be in fourth place. Like, why not this week? I feel like it could get a little goofy. He hasn't been playing great at all on Live, but if there's a week to play him, it's probably at an Open. He played okay last week. I think he was 8th or 7th at Valderrama, and he's going to be 1% owned. So, like, yeah, I'll play Cameron Young. I'll play Marco Penge. That's really about it. Like, there's just not a lot here for me.
It's interesting. Again, I'm looking at some of like the early favorites. Seems like JJ Spawn is getting some steam. Min Woo Lee, I don't agree with at all. I think it's a bad golf.
Yeah, I mean, Keegan's the best player here, right? I think we can say that.
Keegan is the best player here, and I actually do have some interest in Keegan because I just think that this should be treated as a little bit more of an American golf course. Like, I don't think that some of these players that you view as like American players that don't, and Keegan's Open Championship record is bad, but like some of the guys that may not have the links resume but have been good at a golf course like TPC Sawgrass, I think are pretty valid. I'm actually more interested with who Keegan plays with this week because I assume he's got a little influence over these first two rounds, even though it's the RNA. Like, this is the last major before he makes Ryder Cup picks. I just feel like who he plays with this week is going to be very interesting. Daniel Berger, I think, is also a steam candidate. Yes, I think many people would consider Daniel Berger to be one of the better players in the 6K range. And let me ask you a question. Like, what is your take? Because we were talking about in the Discord a little bit earlier. What is your take on like the 10% clearly underpriced guys in majors? Because sometimes they work out. Yeah. Like Burns, for example. Burns was objectively underpriced. At the U.S. Open. He was 16%, and he almost won the tournament. He was a great DFS play, but then you have a guy like Sepp Straka who's been, like in the 7 for 3 straight majors, and he's been terrible chalk every single major. Yeah. Well, so I think really it just depends on the rest of your roster construction. Like, I can't sit here and tell you that like Aaron Rai is a bad play because he's popular. He's a good play. He's underpriced by $1,000 probably. Yeah. I would just encourage you not to play Aaron Rai with a Rahm Hovland build, I just think that's where it comes down to. But yeah, like this range is interesting because it's obviously like a lot of names that we know and play, but like there's guys in the 5K range who I think are just as good as 6K range if I really want to get crazy. So, okay. So I'll just tell you in terms of my chalk predictions for the 6K range, I'm going to say these are the guys that I would need to be concerned about for ownership. Yeah. Keegan, Berger, Harris English, Harry Hall, which I think is one of the easiest fades on the slate. Mav McNeely after that data golf rating. Nick Taylor, who I've already spoken about quite a bit, that ownership we could have seen coming from a mile away. But that's kind of my Brian Harmon of this week. I bet him at 200 to 1. I already revealed that on the Bamford pod. And then, as you mentioned, I think Penge is going to get some popularity as well. I don't like Penge as much this week as I did last week. I think you need to be a little bit more of a pure, or last week, I think you could have gotten away with being like just like a dumb driver putter. And this golf course architecture at least requires a lot more thought. I could get down with that, Dave. I always love me some Lucas Glover. Yes, you do. I love Lucas Glover. Hey, he was sick at he was sick at John Deere. Ben, I don't think so. I don't think McKibben's popularity is going to be off the charts. But then also, I'll ask you this question. We can close on this, RB. I mean, Daniel Brown and Thirsty Lawrence almost won the Open Championship last year. Do you have any recollection of what Dan Brown's price was last year?
I mean, he was probably the min, honestly.
Yeah.
He was not like, I don't think his win was last year. I think it was 2 years ago, but he just won a couple weeks ago. He is, I guess, relatively in form. But I mean, yeah, like
give us like just we'll close on this. Give us like your two or three favorite Euros that you think can make some noise.
Yeah.
Get your pens and papers out. RB knows his shit on the DP World Tour. This is the most important segment of the show. It's more important than anything you hear out of my mouth.
Yeah. So I wouldn't recommend playing a ton of these 5K guys, but I think Jordan Smith is still very, very interesting. He is just under 6K, but he played really well at the Scottish Tee to Green. He just couldn't putt, but he's got a couple runner-up finishes recently on the DP Tour. He's obviously played a bunch of majors. He has one top 10 at a PGA championship. So like we've seen him do good things. I just think he's just classier than a lot of these guys. Let me see who else is down here. Okay, very deep, $5,400. Daniel Young, not even on the DP World Tour. He's still on the Challenge Tour. But he's Scottish, should be very comfortable playing here. He's got a third and a second in his last two events. He's won on that tour. Probably one of the top three players on that Challenge Tour. I think that one's really interesting. And then always have to finish it up with an amateur. From Czechia, Filip Jakovic. He is a rising senior at University of Arizona, has two recent wins. One of them was a Pac-12 event. One of them was a European amateur event. But if you just want some sort of proof of concept, last year in the fall, he won the Western Collegiate in a field that included Michael Thorbjornsen, who finished second, Carl Phillips, who finished fourth. Also, Justin Hastings was second. He's in this field as well. So he was beating real dudes in college last year and this year. He is the stone man at 5K. So again, like don't build your lineups around Filip Jakovic. But if you love a team and need 5K, that's who I would go with.
You never fail to disappoint. Two final questions to get us out of here. Wrighton was huge for us last week. He was actually in my best lineup. That birdie that he made on 17 to finish top 20 was like a 5-unit swing for me. Thoughts on Wrighton? Would you go back to him? For me, it's a no.
Yeah, look, I mean, not the right course for him, but like I want to say he's like a top 80 player right now. So I'm going to say no, but he is the best player on that tour right now. So I wouldn't fault you, but I'll say no.
I agree, Dave. I'll spend more time with RB on, we'll get Kyle's, don't worry, you'll get Kyle's 6K breakdown on Ball Nerds After Dark, but RB's 6K breakdown is as good as it gets. My final question, this is a test for you. Saddam, I legitimately cannot wait to hear Kyle attempt to pronounce this name. So Dave, I'm putting you in charge of this, or Ben, perfectly. Ben, I hope you join us for the Wednesday night DFS show. Please ask Kyle about this player. But RB Saddam, Kyle, can I just do a tiny digression? Kyle, it was one of the funniest lines of the weekend. You know, Kyle was I had a bunch of people in Lake Placid this week at my dad's little cottage up in Lake Placid. And Kyle and Brian were there. And we're all like having breakfast in the morning, having coffee. And before Kyle says good morning, hi, hello, the first thing he says to any person, including like couple people there that don't care about golf at all and aren't betting on 8 different golf tours. Kyle just walks into the room and goes, guys, I think I'm fucking dead in Andalusia.
Perfect.
I promise that's a thing. It may not it was really funny if you're there, if you know Kyle, because
he bet Martin Keimer and Lee Westwood. So I don't know what to tell him. So,
but it's just, there's nothing. I love Kyle to death. You know, he's a huge part of ISN. He'll be a groomsman at my wedding. Like, I love the guy so much. And the best part about him is that he's a psychopath, but he bet, and I say that with love, but like he will bet if you just two ants, you know, racing. And the best thing about Kyle is that he'll say these things and you have no idea what tour he's talking about. None. Like he'll be like, no, guys, you don't get it. I'm sweating like the Australian Challenge Tour right now.
Kyle's one of the 3 people who is in my phone first thing Monday morning. It's
that
usually about 6:40 or 6:45. Kyle's ready to go. Yeah.
The best is when he'll be like, Kuvra 400-1 looking at me funny. It's like, what is he looking?
Yeah.
Anyway, Saddam. Close us off with Saddam.
The pronunciation or anything about him?
Yeah, is he playable, I suppose? Who is he?
I pronounce it Kalkanjana, I think is but yeah, he is an Asian Tour player. He's played some live events. I mean, no, he's not playable is the short answer, but he won something a couple weeks ago on the Asian Tour.
You know who he is?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
All these Thai guys that look, I mean, they're Asian Tour event players, and there's only a handful of guys who win those events. Like Jazz used to be one of them. Barnrat, obviously, back in the day was kind of the first one, but no, he's not playable here. No.
So, RB, that will do it from us. If you want to hear more updated predictions and who I'm going to play and put in my DFS pool, iSense free this week. So you just go to InsideSportsNetwork.com, sign up for the free trial. If you want to post in the Discord and like really be a part of the community, you have to sign up for the monthly. But if you want to
sign up, shout out the CUDA chat. We have a CUDA chat channel now since we were
absurd. Like it's like an insane
spanning the main Discord. But yes, we have the CUDA as well. So don't forget about that one.
Here's the thing that I would say about ISN. Like it's really, we cast a wide net. Like we don't judge at all. It's a place for everyone. You could be a $5 bettor. You could be like the sickest degenerate in the world and you'll be able to find your people there. If you literally only want to talk about the CUDA, there's like a home for you. Like I woke up this morning expecting to talk about the Open Championship, and there are like 30 people in there fucking breaking down the CUDA. And we're like, we need to put these monkeys, we need to give them their own circus.
We have it without Griot Market this week. Like, what could be better than that?
So yeah, I mean, this is the only time we'll be free. I can certainly say that, and it's our last really huge golf tournament of the year. So if you want more content and serious ownership projections, like there's going to be some very unserious ownership projections this week. Serious ownership projections, which I think is a key piece in really understanding what to do in DFS. Come check us out. It's completely free. So cheers, RP.
All right. See you, bud.